Thanks indeed, Christine. Viewers, tune in tomorrow, of course, as you can see on your screens, from 8 a.m. in the morning as we bring to you the election results from 3 northeastern states. Very vital elections these are, and we are going to be live with all that analysis. But viewers, we're going to now shift back to the main story of the day, and what a day it has been. Viewers, the #1 Lutyens think tank stands shaken. I'll tell you a little bit about that. That story is reverberating across the country. Viewers, first let me put it in wider context for you. As you know, George Soros is a Hungarian origin American billionaire, multi-billionaire, if there is any such term. And he is widely thought to have succeeded in bringing about regime change around the world. At least that's what many say he has done in the past. And many still believe that he's perhaps even planning that here in India. Many think of him as an agent of instability, and India is a natural target for individuals like these who might not be partial to a nationalistic government that would like India to become a force of global dominance. Soros is widely known to fund many who are part of an ecosystem here in India of Western elites, or westernized elites rather, that militate against the effort to construct a new Bharat built on its civilizational dharmic values, and which poses a challenge to the Western worldview, to the Western order. 5 months after income tax sleuths surveyed the #1 Lutyens think tank, the Center for Policy Research, the Home Ministry has suspended the institution's foreign funding license for the next 180 days. In short, for the next 6 months. This suspension of the FCRA license has ostensibly taken place because foreign funding norms have been violated. That's the basic allegation. Interestingly, an overwhelming quantity of the Center for Policy Research's funds come from overseas donors. We'll deep dive those numbers in a short while. The center's action has predictably stirred the proverbial hornet's nest in Lutyens, Delhi. The think tank has long been a bastion of what the right wing in India calls the Khan market set. Many of its members belong to this Khan market set, routinely and harshly criticize policies of the government and the leadership of the country. The ecosystem now sees this scrutiny by the IT department, by the center, as a bid to silence the critics of the government, viewers. Now, as you know, before we deep dive, as I told you, the entire fund source of the CPR, let me tell you what the CPR has said. It issued a statement where it confidently claims that it has no reasons to fear scrutiny. It says, and I quote, FCRA license suspended by the MHA for 180 days. Detailed and exhaustive responses have been submitted. We are in complete compliance with the law, routinely scrutinized and audited by government and the CNAG. Annual balance sheets are in the public domain. Our aim is to protect constitutional guarantees, unquote. It also says that it is unbiased and law-abiding. It is independent, unbiased, and law-abiding. Now, as I said, the CPR is getting a lot of support, mostly from anti-India types, anti-NDA rather types, and the opposition. Viewers, let's play out some of those sound bites.
सेंटर फॉर पॉलिसी रिसर्च आज से नहीं 1973 से पढ़ रहा था, आज की 1973 से जो चल रहा है, और जिस समय आने पर वक्तन वक्तन सरकार को एक सुझाव भी देते थे और सरकार उनको अमल भी करती थी। तो ये मैं समझता हूँ कि आज की जो सरकार ने जो फैसला किया है, तो मैं कहता हूँ ये एक और इनकी तरफ से कदम है हिंदुस्तान में, मैं कहूँगा पूरे इंडिया में डेमोक्रेसी सेटअप को एक और चोट है।
These days, the center is using its agency for its own sinister purposes, and that also for the organization opposed to them. They raided using the income tax, and CBI they raided the BBC premises. So center has lost its credibility as to on what grounds it suspends the registration of FCR and all.
And it used to help the Indian government. The policy research was to understand India, to go for any dangers of this which we are facing. And by that, the government of India had used to make the policies. It is unfortunate why they have stopped it.
Now, as I said, viewers, ordinarily receiving funds from foreign sources is not a crime. It shouldn't even be a crime. But for some reason, the government, and we're yet to actually get an official statement from the government on this, suspects that certain funding norms have been undermined, violated. As I said, viewers, the CPR receives a huge amount of foreign funds. It has received over 16.5 crores in 9 months of last year. Of this, rupees 2.6 crore came from Soros's Namati alone. Those figures are there on your screens. Let's look a little deeper. George Soros is a founding member of Namati. He gave a veiled call for regime change recently, and Namati funds Center for Policy Research, which is headed by Yamini Iyer, the daughter of Congress leader Mani Shankar Iyer. None of this, viewers, is problematic. None of this, except for the fact that George Soros has an agenda, and he speaks of it openly. Has that agenda, that anti-Modi agenda, riled up the agencies at the center? Have they been provoked? Could they not stomach his criticism and they're taking it out on CPR? It's quite possible, viewers. It's quite possible. Let me just very quickly tell you what the CPR does. Now, the CPR, viewers, as I told you, is a think tank. It's a very, very important think tank. It's one of the most well-known think tanks. It's been a leading public policy think tank, in fact, since 1973. CPR is non-profit, calls itself non-partisan, independent institution dedicated to conducting research that contributes to high-quality scholarship, better policies, and more robust public discourse about the issues that impact life in India. And it also goes on to say the CPR brings together India's best thinkers and policy practitioners who are at the forefront of both research and engagement in the policy space. Drawing from various disciplines and professional backgrounds, CPR conducts advanced and in-depth research on a wide range of policy-relevant issues with a focus on India's 21st century challenges. Through its research and policy-making engagements, CPR works closely with policymakers in its aim to place India firmly on the path of building a 21st century policy ecosystem. So basically, viewers, if a policy is being designed by a government, a state government, a department of the government, they can lean on the CPR and its brains trust to help them shape it. There's nothing wrong in that, viewers. Consultation is important. Now, viewers, plenty of institutions in India are funded by Soros. So why should we be worried just about CPR? Now, we spoke to some leading experts, and here's why they think CPR's foreign funds are problematic. And some of them spoke to us off the record. They say that CPR has received funds from Soros and others who are sympathetic to Soros's objectives. The foreign fund infusion into CPR between 2019 and 2020 stands at rupees 32 crores, 8 times more than domestic funds, which stand at about 4.13 crores. Between 2015 and 2021, CPR received rupees 100 crores from abroad for, quote, educational purposes, unquote. But CPR doesn't run any education institutions. That is what we are being told. We're subject to be corrected on this, viewers. CPR's list of faculty are associated with foreign institutions. They're allegedly not vetted by the government, like foreign journalists, for example, are working in India. Now, unvetted CPR faculty enjoys access, some say, to country-sensitive data and policy papers. And if these individuals are being funded by other individuals, viewers, or have ties to other institutions, which may not be non-partisan, they might actually be partisan. They could give the government wrong advice. They could criticize where perhaps no criticism is required. They could throw off policy making. Now, CPR is paralegal partner, we are told, of Namati in India. Namati, of course, was founded and funded by George Soros. Namati funds legal cases through CPR. Experts say this could also constitute an FCRA breach. Now, before we open this up to debate, I want you to listen to George Soros once again. He spoke recently in Geneva, if I'm not mistaken, or in Switzerland to be exact. Listen into this.
It's a democracy, but its leader, Narendra Modi, is no Democrat. Inciting violence against Muslims was an important factor in his meteoric rise. India is a member of the Quad, which also includes Australia, the US, and Japan. But it buys a lot of Russian oil at a steep discount. Modi and business tycoon Adani are close allies. Modi is silent on the subject, but he will have to answer questions from foreign investors and in Parliament. This will significantly weaken Modi's stranglehold on India's federal government and open the door to push for much-needed institutional reforms.
Now, viewers, when you look at George Soros, who's finding it difficult to read out of a prepared script, you'd say, what possible threat could he pose to India, a mighty country like ours? Even if he is funding, do you think Indians would sell their souls to his agenda? Well, viewers, those are some of the fundamental questions that we seek to answer. Let's open this up. And I want to begin first with Sanjay Jha and Dr. Anand Ranganathan, in that order. Sanjay Jha, are we today under attack? As you know, the foreign minister of the country, the prime minister of the country, have both talked about the foreign hand. The Congress had talked about it in the past, in the very recent past. And all these big leaders and massive parties like the Congress believe that democracy can be undermined here in our country. And I can give you several examples of Congress leaders, including Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi and the last Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, talking about the pernicious foreign hand, etc., in different contexts. Now, if this is indeed the case, shouldn't we be worried that Soros and perhaps others like Soros are funding institutions where there are, we are told, unvetted scholars, etc., who are advising the government on policy? There could be, and we know through the past, and we know how democracies work and have worked to undermine communism in the past. We've seen this sort of, it's called different sort of form of espionage, etc. You can call it what you want to. Why shouldn't we be worried? Why should we always think that this is a crackdown, intimidation, as the opposition says?
Rahul, my short answer is I don't think India is under attack. There is no conspiracy theory. These are all tilting at the windmills. This is nothing but the typical BJP playbook, standard propaganda to try and basically wear the cloak of patriotism and nationalism to deflect from some serious problems that India is confronted with. Let me tell you something here. India is not under threat from anyone. But I think all ordinary Indians are under threat from this government of Mr. Modi. That is the real truth. The second point, everything that, George Soros said, by the way, has been said 1,000,000 times before by one of the most respected Indians worldwide. By the way, he also happens to be a Nobel laureate. And I'm talking about Dr. Amartya Sen. Read Dr. Amartya Sen on India. Probably no one can challenge him. I dare anybody from the BJP. I challenge anybody from the RSS. I throw the gauntlet at any cheerleader for this government to come and tell here on this show that Dr. Amartya Sen is unpatriotic, anti-national, or practices, some seditious
kind of an agenda. He may not be any of those, but he might actually be wrong.
Yeah.
So,
anyway,
one second, Sanjay Jha, this Dr. Sen, Amartya Sen, he's a Nobel laureate, yes, indeed he is. But do you know he says, and it's on record, that there is nothing called Hinduism? Should we agree with him?
Let me answer your point on
no, I'm just asking, should we agree with him on this? There is nothing called Hinduism. It doesn't exist.
You can agree or disagree with
him
why
should we disagree?
Aspects.
No, we shouldn't disagree. No, hang on, 1 minute.
Let us nail
one
the
second.
discussion.
No, Sanjay Jha, you held him up. No, 1 minute. You held him up as a templar of credible analysis.
I do.
Do you agree? If he is so credible, he wrote a book. He wrote a book, a bestseller, a very influential book, where he comes out and says there is nothing called Hinduism. I can quote him. Would you agree with him?
Well, let me tell you, Dr. Amartya Sen endorsed my book, and I have the highest respect
so that's because he endorsed your book. Achha, theek hai. Chalo, at least you have been honest.
Can I carry on?
I don't know. At least you've been honest. But I want to ask you, do you believe that there is nothing called Hinduism? I'll quote him right now. And I'll get the quote out.
The subject, Rahul?
I'm not. I'm asking you. You said that he was a credible person. If he's so credible, and he writes in his book, his great book, that there's nothing called Hinduism, should I believe it or not?
That's your personal call. Anyway, let me answer the question.
Why should it be my personal call?
This government...
I'm asking you, do you stand by, since since he vouched out... you brought him up. You said we must listen to what Amartya Sen says, because what he says
he said
is
exactly
absolutely
what
right.
George Soros said.
George Soros has a problem with India. He said so.
So you think Dr. Amartya... Are you calling Dr. Amartya Sen an anti-national?
I'm not.
Are you?
I'm not.
Are you?
I'm not. I'm saying...
So
1 second, excuse me. Don't jump to that conclusion. Don't debate here like class 2 students. Let's grow up. I'm asking you, you want me to believe he's credible. You want to believe everything he writes is the flaming truth. I want to ask you, he wrote very controversially, my dear Sanjay, that there is nothing called Hinduism. So let me ask you, do you believe this?
Let me tell you, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Brahmin, I believe my religion.
But you don't exist, my dear friend.
But how does my view matter? Let us here nail the
because
issue.
I am talking about scholarship. No, hang on. I am talking about people who want to.
Government.
Okay.
Sanjay
Jha, I have no
democracy.
I am not here holding
a candle. Mr. Modi's government so scared?
Okay, I am not here holding a candle for anybody or a brief for anybody.
Okay. That's a question we need to address.
We will address that question. I am only saying, sir, you held him up. Okay, you held him.
क्यों है ये इसका जवाब हमको ढूंढना पड़ेगा
भैया
राहुल जी प्रजातंत्र है ये लोकतंत्र है
ये
भाजपा का कोई सुनिए ये भाजपा का कोई जमींदारी नहीं है
ये
मोदी जी का कोई प्राइवेट क्यूबडम नहीं है
ठीक है
ये महान देश है ये
अच्छा ठीक
और इस देश को बचाने के लिए हम लोग सब लड़ेंगे
ओके ठीक
कोई डरता नहीं
अच्छा आपको टिकट मिल जाएगा आप रिलैक्स कीजिए 2 मिनट तो वेट कीजिए सर 2 मिनट वेट कीजिए आपने बहुत बोला अच्छा बोला बड़ी जबरदस्त खुल के बोला और हमारे को
चलेगा
ठीक है नहीं चलेगा अच्छा संजय झा now relax calm down okay relax 30 seconds please don't keep interrupting the point of the matter here viewers is very simple Tanashahi dictatorship dictatorial regime all that has been said today by Sanjay Jha you could not say in any dictatorial regime which proves the point which proves the point
Rahul, let me tell you.
No, don't. I need to bring in Dr. Ranganathan. I need to go to others. Why are you getting into a slanging match with me, sir?
You know that.
Bhai, I am not addressing you right now.
करते हैं कोई अपना रेगुलर फोन पे बात भी नहीं करता है कि मोदी जी कहीं सुन नहीं रहे हैं कि यार हम लोग क्या बातचीत कर रहे हैं। तो कल देशद्रोह के आरोप में
Okay. Sanjay Jha, you have spoken for 11 minutes by the watch. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks,
Good.
Rahul. Thanks, Rahul. You've been kind.
The platform that the Congress doesn't offer you, Times Now does. So please keep that in mind. We love you. We love you. We love you for the fact that you can come out here and abuse Modi night after night, and Modi takes it.
I call him out on
Modi
facts,
takes
Rahul.
it.
Let's clarify
It's okay. It's fine. It's fine.
I haven't called anything to
you
his
can
father,
call him a dictator.
And I've not insulted
you
him
can call him.
personally.
It's fine, sir. You are entitled to your opinion. I'm telling you this. It's good.
Sure.
It's good. You've done it for a large number of years. Nothing has happened to you. Your freedom of expression has never been circumscribed. No one is worried. Nothing. Let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan. Dr. Ranganathan, look, I'm not somebody who sits and supports bans, etc., on free speech, etc. Obviously, I do believe that free speech should not be absolute. That's a little point of difference that we have. But nonetheless, there are certain institutions, as there have always been throughout history, certain individuals who may have a problem with India's rise. Should we just throw that out of contention? Should we quote Dr. Amartya Sen and listen to whatever he says at point blank face value and say, "Theek hai, inhone keh diya, so that means it's true"? Just bringing you into this conversation, what do you make of the fact that the center has blocked foreign funding avenues for 180 days to Lutyens' #1 think tank?
Good evening, Rahul. To paraphrase Kennedy, ask not how these journalists, activists, failed academics and policy analysts became frauds. Ask how these frauds became journalists, activists, failed academics and policy analysts. Needless to say, they, along with their army of woke automatons, are now crying death of democracy, death of democracy. Honestly and ironically, Indian democracy must be immortal, considering it dies every waking day, and so for it to do so, it must be alive every waking day. Look, as I see it, there are 3 points that every rational and logical human being would consider when analyzing this issue. This narrows it down by excluding all leftists. Number one, has this happened for the first time? No. The Congress cancelled the FCRA licenses of 4,138 NGOs in 2012 when Sanjay Jha was not suspended from the Congress. But no one cried death of democracy then. Why? Why were these chauthi fails silent then? Answer is because they were all Congress's chauthi fails. Sarkar bhi unki thi aur system bhi unka tha. Number two, there is no doubt that this think tank has become a methane-spewing landfill of lies, fraud, and selectivity, employing the dregs of the society, unemployment, urban Naxal academics, Nepo dynasty doormats, and surviving only because some geriatric jellyfishes hobbling around in a Zimmer frame 1,000 miles away and dreaming of a rose-tinted revolution throw some pennies in their piss pot. Question is this the only such mental asylum in India spewing venom? The answer again is no. There are dozens of such outlets, media houses and digital portals. Has Modi banned them all or thrown them all in jail? The answer is again no. In fact, CPR is a kindergarten crash compared to what a kiosk manned by a US citizen dishes out every day. Rahul, please understand. From the fake church attack to Justice Loya to Rafale to selective lynchings to Ayodhya judgment to hijab, they have been exposed every time, but every single time they brazen it out. In the garb of being virulently anti-Modi, they are anti-progress, anti-human rights and anti-everything. They stand on farm bills, they stand on CAA, and 370 has proven this. Trust me, all this Modi hate and irrational anti-government analysis works in Modi's favor. Because irrational criticism of his policies allows him to conveniently shift the focus away from rational criticism of his policies. And these fools don't get this three finally. The Congress and its dinosaurs hatchery CPR had a golden chance to go after the BJP when the courts convicted the BJP of FCRA violations in receiving funds. But they didn't do anything. Know why? Because the same court convicted the Congress too of the same offense, and everyone remained silent when the BJP, with the Congress's support, shamelessly, retrospectively amended the FCRA Act so that the court conviction was rendered impotent. Why was there no death of democracy then? I'll tell you why. Because the Congress was murdering democracy. No one kills democracy when the Congress is the killer.
Well, Ashutosh, and let me bring in Jahangir Ali. Jahangir Ali, let me ask you this question. are certain organizations reflexively above question? And the moment you ask a small question of them, democracy dies? Is that what we're supposed to believe? That there should be a foreign fund free run in this country, no questions asked? Because, my gosh, we are today silencing free speech.
Thank you for the invite, Rahul. First of all, I would like to say that I'm a free speech absolutist. So, first thing first, the premise of this ban on FCRA contributions to CPR is based on, it's a flawed premise based on the understanding that government is made up of a bunch of idiots who can be easily swayed by some policy wonks sitting in an office and having coffee, which is not true. Government is much more beyond that. Number two is the issue of having this healthy and a very important key component to a democratic society like India, to have a healthy exchange of ideas, where ideas are allowed to flourish, where ideas are allowed to be kind of refined and tailored in a way which is good for the country and good for its people. You can debate an idea, but an idea is not supposed to be crushed. But the government, although there is nothing has been said by the government on record about what it has found against the CPR and all that.
I mean, I completely, you see, when someone says that they're a free speech absolutist, then let me ask you a question, Jahangir Saab. Did you endorse Nupur Sharma's, one second, Dr. Ranganathan, one second. Do you endorse Nupur Sharma's views that she spoke on national TV, since you're a free speech absolutist?
Rahul, you don't know who you are talking to.
No,
and I have no, I'm telling you that she has every right to say what she wants to say.
Secondly, Sartan se juda.
And we are not
Sartan se juda. Is that okay?
Me, Rahul, come on.
Is in your dictionary, should we go around chanting slogans like Sartan se juda?
Based understanding of who you are talking to.
No, I'm only asking you. Take a position.
Said at the beginning, I am a free speech absolutist.
No. One second.
Everyone has a right to make a statement. Everyone is right to have
one second. Let me just take a position. Jahangir Ali, do you think people should run around the streets saying things like Gustake Rasool ki ek hi saza, sartan se juda? Simple question.
I mean, I have no idea what you are talking about, honestly.
Okay.
But that proves the point. You are saying,
that proves the point. Aapne suna hi nahi.
You are saying or
aapne suna hi nahi. Chaliye. Anyhow. Anyhow, let me ask you, since you are a free speech absolutist, then tell me, democracy is dying 1,000 deaths today. Ashutosh ji, let me bring it. We've heard from a free speech absolutist who puts his hand on his heart and says, I believe in everything. When I ask him about a particular slogan and whether it should be chanted, he says, मैंने तो कभी सुना ही नहीं. ठीक है, you know, some people live in silos, and that's perfectly okay. Ashutosh ji, let me ask you a specific question. And I'm going to ask you a question, and I hope you take a position and you say that that was a blatant assault on democracy like it has never happened before. In 2012, 4,138 NGOs lost their FCRA licenses. Amnesty, I think, was one of them, if I'm not mistaken. So was the government silencing free speech then? Was the government, the UPA, that filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court using the term urban Naxals, also taking on those who were in dispute with the government and snatching their right by characterizing them as such to criticize the government? Simple question, Ashutosh ji.
Can I answer?
Yeah, of course.
I hope you remember the Manmohan Singh government was called a weak government. I hope you remember the Manmohan Singh government was accused of policy paralysis. You are trying to compare Modi government with the Manmohan Singh government, or you are trying to tell us that the Modi government is equally weak and equally scared of some kind of foreign conspiracy.
No, I'm not understanding the logic.
No.
Sanjay Jha said that this government...
Not fair.
No, but you're mangling my words. I never said that. I only asked you a simple question, Ashutosh ji.
I've just started.
Acha, theek. You were warming up. Okay, chaliye.
Yeah, just only 20 seconds.
ठीक है.
I think I should. I'm not as privileged that Dr. Anand Ranganathan is. I'm not as articulate as Anand Ranganathan is. But we share the same campus. He belongs to JNU. I also belong to JNU. So we both are anti-nationals that way. That's the logic. That's the logic. How illogical is that? I do not know.
No,
fact of the matter is today.
Please listen to me. I got only 2.5 minutes. Sanjay got 11 minutes. Please don't.
Sanjay got only 3 minutes. I counted that.
Sanjay got 3 minutes. Okay, chalo, theek hai.
Let's not get into that.
Even a broken watch tells the time correctly twice. तुम्हारी कौन सी घड़ी है?
Sanjay got a free run. Okay, चलिए बताइए.
JNU की बनी हुई है.
Yeah.
Fact of the matter is, we should stop calling ourselves. Mr. Modi should stop calling himself as a powerful prime minister.
Okay.
Should stop calling itself that India has ambitions to become a Vishwaguru. If you can't accept criticism and you find conspiracy everywhere, who is George Soros, for God's sake, yaar? India is that big that it is scared of George Soros. Who the hell is he? He was thrown out of Hungary. He was thrown out from everywhere. And you call him that he's anti-India, he hates India. Then Ashutosh also should be clubbed into that, because on a daily basis, I'm also called anti-India. I'm also called as a Modi hater. So you call me also that. The fact of the matter is, this government should have a democratic bone, and that democratic bone should be powerful enough to accept criticism and to ignore. Most of the time, you should ignore such things. And the leaders who ignore, who learn to ignore, they graduate to become a statesman, not those who feel scared every minute here and there. And when the Khan Market gang and the JNU gang and the Tukde gang and Sar Tan Se Juda, if there is a Sar Tan Se Juda here, there's a one Raju Das who also is quoting Sar Tan Se Juda.
Okay.
But I'm scared today.
Okay, but I don't understand. कोई आदमी
endorse, and why this question?
अच्छा, आशुतोष जी.
Jahangir Ali, not me.
आशुतोष जी.
Ask the same question.
Okay, let me ask you the follow-up
Jahangir
question.
Ali will be asked this question, not Ashutosh.
Okay, let me ask you.
Please ask me that question also.
Okay, let me ask you, Ashutosh bhai, एक second. मेरी बात
I
तो
can't
सुन
hear
लीजिए.
you, Rahul.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, so a simple question is this. Why are we making the leap towards, quashing free speech, dissent? फॉरेन फंड ही तो ब्लॉक हुए हैं सीपीआर के. हिंदुस्तानी देंगे, आप देंगे, संजय जी देंगे. कितने पैसे आएंगे उनको?
Why are you debating now? If that issue is not important enough, it's just a very minor issue. Rahul,
no, because people are making it about an assault on democracy. We are the youngest, most vibrant democracy. So I'm asking you, कि इंडियन पैसों से क्या डेमोक्रेसी खत्म हो जाएगी?
I'm dreading today that tomorrow or day after somebody will stand up and say Justice KM Joseph, he's also anti-national, because he said you're keeping the country on boil, on renaming things. And this government and the BJP and the RSS has been renaming. So he's also anti-national by that logic.
I don't understand this logic.
I don't know.
Only foreign funds have been blocked of CPR. No one has thrown anyone in jail. Now let me tell you, viewers, a parliamentary reply given in the Rajya Sabha by SS Palani Manikam in 2013 during UPA. He was the MOS home about actions taken against NGOs. He said government monitors the receipt and utilization of foreign contribution received by any person, including NGOs, in terms of FCRA and the rules framed thereunder. FCRA provides for NGOs to receive foreign funds after registration or prior permission. They will get good Indian money. Mahindras will probably give money. Why not? They're very respectable company. Perhaps Tata's will, perhaps Times Now will. Why not? Take our money too. Kya problem hai? So where is this? Are you saying that anyone who runs a media house or a think tank is above scrutiny? No sawal should be asked. Ashutosh ji, that's a very weird logic, isn't it?
Well, I'm saying,
I would like to step in here.
I'm saying simple thing. You are a powerful prime minister. Mr. Modi is a powerful prime minister.
You can ask a question.
No. Rahul, it can't be two ways.
Okay.
Either this issue is not important.
Okay. Dr. Ranganathan wants to come in. I want to open this up to. Okay, fair enough.
That means this issue is important. That's why you're saying.
Okay. So Ashutosh is saying very clearly this is an assault on democracy. So in the interest of upholding democracy, we should ask no questions about where any money is coming from. Why do we even go after Malia? He was also getting foreign funds. Usko bhi छोड़ तो दिया था. Yes, he got away. Sorry. Yeah, Dr. Ranganathan.
And who
पूछ रहा है राहुल जी?
Which government?
अडानी जी के बारे में तो बात ही नहीं हो रहा है. प्रधानमंत्री
चलो अडानी के बारे में भी बात कर देते हैं. He also gets foreign. Why should we investigate him? Why should a strong prime minister investigate Adani? For God's sakes, going by Ashutosh's logic. Only weak prime ministers would do that. Anyhow, Dr. Ranganathan.
Anyway, Adani is not.
सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा तो वो है.
No.
Rahul, can I please?
Yes, please, Dr. Ranganathan. Let me open this up for the Dr. Ranganathan. I want to bring in Binoy Singh right after. Okay.
Remember
Yes.
both Adani and
Rahul, just a couple
Right.
of points.
Malia
Yes.
are facing accusations of
Mr.
fraud.
Ali, please, I didn't interrupt you.
And in this case, in this case, there is no fraud. There is nothing like that. It's only
You
an
don't
exchange
know.
of
I
ideas
don't
that
know.
has taken place.
No one knows.
You can't say that. You can't base your argument on conjecture, Rahul. Nothing
I'm
has
not
been
basing it
said
on conjecture.
record.
I'm only putting
How
out
is
the
it
facts.
based on
How is
conjecture
Mr. Ali
because
saying there is no fraud here?
One second. Jahangir Ali, one second. How do you know there is no fraud?
Yes.
How do you know? Are you specially
I
qualified?
don't know. That is why I'm telling
So
you
then-
that
then-
you're basing
then
your
relax.
argument on conjecture.
So no, there's no conjecture.
See,
One minute.
Adani and Mr.
Jahangir Ali,
Malia
please.
both faced accusations of financial fraud.
Jahangir
In
Ali,
this
1
case,
second,
in case
please.
of CPR, we do not know what kind of accusations have been leveled against them.
They
What
themselves
are
have
they
said
involved
what
in? We
they
do
have
not know
said.
that.
They have, sir, issued a statement, a very detailed statement, where they have said that they were surveyed in September. They have been surveyed repeatedly, asked questions several times after that. So clearly there was some sort of an inquiry, and on the basis
Yes,
of that
sir.
inquiry, Jahangir Ali, please, 1 second, please. The centre has passed an order, and the very self-righteous CPR, very honest, has said that we are going to completely bear ourselves in all our glory and produce all our books which are in the domain out there, and we are not afraid of scrutiny, which is how it should be. Why has this become an attack and assault on democracy? I don't know. Anyhow, Dr. Ranganathan, yes.
Yes, very briefly, 2 points, Rahul. I hope I won't be interrupted here. Number one, as far as what Ashutosh is saying, I think he's completely derailed the debate because I think उनको अभी पता चला डिबेट में कि सब्जेक्ट क्या है, वो प्रिपरेशन उनका कुछ और था. The question is not whether Modi is as weak as Manmohan Singh. Personally, really, if you were to ask me, I would say he's actually as weak as Manmohan Singh. Because the Hindus are being actively discriminated against constitutionally in Modi's India, and he's doing nothing. But that's another matter. The question is, did Ashutosh, who was in charge, and a prominent journalist back in...
schizophrenia.
Rahul,
This is called
please.
schizophrenia, Anand.
Okay,
Ashutosh,
one
this
second.
is very-
Yeah, let him finish.
This
Yeah.
is very unfair.
Okay, finish.
I treat you to filter coffee and vadas in JNU and still you interrupt me. Please don't do it.
You
So,
never treated me, Anand. Never treated.
Rahul, please. No, Ashutosh, please. 1 second. So, as I was saying, the question is not whether Modi is as weak as Manmohan Singh. The question is, why are people crying death of democracy now when Ashutosh, you in 2012, as a journalist, as a responsible journalist, be that an oxymoron there concerning you, you were completely silent. You did not say there is death of democracy when Congress cancelled 4,000 licenses. You need to
How do you
answer
know?
that as a journalist.
How do you know?
I did my research. I did my research. There is not a single tweet of yours. There is not a single program of yours crying death of democracy. I did my research. That is the problem. No, Rahul, I have been constantly interrupted. This is very unfair. I seem to have rattled. No, please.
You are blaming.
You bring out a program. I challenge you. You bring out a program decrying death of democracy in 2012 when Congress cancelled 4,000 licenses. You bring it out. Let me see it. Now, as far as number 2, Rahul, please give me 30 seconds because Ashutosh is completely... please, Rahul.
No, but
I need to
Ashutosh
say
ji,
this
just
very
produce the facts. He's making an accusation about your hypocrisy. So just tell us.
I will not.
Instead of producing and reproducing rhetoric.
Okay, you must sue him then if he's lying. 1 second, doctor.
Rahul, please allow me. Please allow me. No, Ashutosh, please, this is very unfair.
Stop shouting over each other. Ashutosh ji, 1 second. Yeah, Dr. Ranganathan, finish your point quickly. I need to open this up to others.
Yes, no, I have taken care of Ashutosh. Now to my good friend Sanjay Jha, whom I promise not to disagree with because he has endorsed my book. But secondly, as far as him saying about Amartya Sen and challenging people on Amartya Sen, let me say him, I believe in science. My good friend Sanjay believes in Scientology because he must read Churchill at War, a fantastic book by a scientist, Madhushree Mukherjee. She has demolished Amartya Sen, demolished point by point. Sanjay, have you read Churchill at War?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If a person has endorsed Sanjay Jha, then that's gospel and he's entitled to his gospel. He can take it around and preach it. 1 minute, very quickly. Binoy, 1 second. Binoy Singh and Sushil Pandit haven't spoken. It's very unfortunate. I need to also move on to another. Very quickly, Binoy Singh, what is this happening here? Why should CPR's foreign funds be a problem?
Rahul, yesterday charity was a virtue. Today charity is a business. So when we talk about George Soros, a philanthropist, don't get fooled away. It's a camouflage. He's targeting India. And Congress must not get happy that he's anti-Modi. He's not anti-Modi, he's anti-India. And India is also not the only one who should be worried about. There are so many countries across the world, those who are facing challenges like Soros type challenges. And they have taken precautions, they have taken actions. And my friend in the panel just mentioned Hungary. The Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orbán, who has a great mutual relationship with George Soros, and he passed a law to stop Soros. So here's a lesson we must learn, that the Prime Minister of Hungary, he chose the national interest over his personal preferences. So the Congress must not try to find a common minimum program between George Soros and themselves. He's not he's not a friend of yours, he's not an enemy of BJP, he's an enemy of this country.
Okay.
And let me tell you, Rahul, FCRA 2020, there was amendment because the old format of FCRA is not enough to handle with the things. So not only India, you come to Russia, there was a law passed, the Undesirable Organizations Law 2015. And you know the organizations, those who wind up their offices the very next day, it was Oxfam, Carnegie, Greenpeace, Amnesty and Open Society. So these are not the organizations, those who are creating a mess or those who are creating, those who are pushing their agenda. It is not the only country. There are so many countries, and all the countries, they are taking actions according to themselves. So don't get fooled away. That
don't get fooled. Sushil Pandit. Sushil Pandit.
Thank you for remembering me. I must tell you what this body has produced in gratitude for all the funding it received in the recent past. From funding from philanthropists like George Soros. There was an article which said how China outmaneuvered Modi's government and seized control of territory along the LAC, written by Sushant Singh. You must also hear another article. In defense of Indian secularism threatened, this was on CAA. Another one, corporate controlled capitalism in India against the farm laws. Now you must know, all these three issues have the capacity, and not just the demonstrated capacity, they did hold India to ransom. The farm agitation, the Shaheen Bagh agitation, and the issue of China on our LAC. This is how they are funding this subversion within the country. It is not without a quid pro quo. These articles are churned out, and I have a reasonable belief in return for this funding, which is not just confined to Soros. It is also coming from United Arab Emirates, supposedly through the Pakistani agents rerouting it from a different geography. So if there is such subversion happening as a result of funding from abroad, we have every reason to suppress it. It amounts to a reasonable restriction on freedom of speech, just as you cannot allow people to say fire in a people packed with auditorium.
I just want to say,
so
look, certain people
have to have
certain journalists have been named. 1 second, by Mr. Pandit. I don't know I don't want to underwrite any of that, viewers. Whether they were writing under influence or not, or whose influence, I don't know. They are entitled to their point of view. It could very well be that they believe what they have written to be the gospel. They might have researched it well. I'm not in any way here castigating any individuals. This is not a program where we are maligning anyone's reputation. I just want to make that clear. So, Mr. Pandit, those are your views, not subscribed to by Times Now, not by this anchor, and I don't share that outlook. But I just want to make... yes.
These are researched.
Okay, you research. That's one second. I need to move on because it's a very important story, but I just want to make one very quick point, viewers. You see, no one here has a right to think they're above scrutiny or above the law. That would be wrong. Then tomorrow you and I would say our freedom of speech and expression has been curtailed because we were asked to open our books to IT department, and you won't pay your taxes, and you'll start tweeting from today in advance against the Modi government and say, Dekhe ji, they came after me because I'm a dissenter. It doesn't work that way, viewers. If you've got a clean pair of heels, it'll be proven. I just want to quickly say that in the past, when the UPA filed 24 cases referred to the CBI, 10 cases given to the state police, 35 NGOs placed in prior permission category, accounts of 32 NGOs had been frozen, 72 NGOs had been prohibited from receiving foreign contribution, and registration of 4,138 NGOs had been cancelled. No one cried death of democracy. They say that that was a blunt instrument being used to thwart the foreign hand. Blunt only because, viewers, as you know, it continued. So obviously it was not very effective. That's what was said. That was the limit of the criticism. They had a problem with the instrument, not with the fact that it was applied. Think about that, viewers. I want to move on.